this car just parked, this charcoal Toyota Prius, Hicks 1918. No emblem on the back. That's became popular years ago. I'm saying years ago, like somewhere after 2011, all of a sudden I started noticing like ornaments and emblems on cars would be missing. So that's sort of a, almost like getting rid of name brands. Go this way. And go back. Right, this is what I was supposed to do. So anyway, if license plates could tell a narrative or a story, I almost just said story, but all of a sudden I was reminded of the word narrative. So there's a Starbucks stick here in front of Urban Outfitters. This used to be, you know, homeless inspired clothing for hundreds of dollars, because it used to be very artsy, and we'll get into it, but you get it, Urban Outfitters, outside, homeless and outside in the freezing cold. So anyway, Hicks HYX on that Toyota Prius, and with a year, 1918. So already I would want to know why these people wound up with this license plate and car. So, and they may not have any control over what they got on their license plate. So their license plate, what happened in 1918, I would wonder. It's, you know, you could be driving around with LZY on the back of your car and not even realize that someone marked you or targeted as lazy. And that's how some people who read license plate would wonder. They would wonder, unless you can do lousy. But either way, they're both negative. Like, what would be a positive interpretation of LZY? Lizzie. But then it would be like lizard. You know, some people think people are dinosaurs and this, that, and the other. So anyway, Hicks. We have a Hicks Street, but it's H-I-C-K-S. It runs north and south. In fact, it's like, it's between 15th and 16th. It's like midway between 15th and 16th. I'm approaching 16th right now. This is 16th Street, where the Starbucks is. More information. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is the White House. We have Govberg over here in 1916. So anything with 16 is very government related. You'll see relay boxes, mailboxes on 16th Street in Center City. So are we going this way or Walnut? Okay. So anyway, Pearl Properties on this Govberg, and of course the Beacon. And this is the 1500 block, but it ends, you know, it's right on the edge of 16th, if you will. Then we have Live Van Cookie, which has a whole bunch of eagles designed into their wallpaper, if you will. God, if walls had ears, you know. Across from State and Liberty, and on Side of Ham. I'm sorry, Side and Ham. It's not so funny. At North Face. So Side and Ham or Side of Ham. And everybody calls, you know, the government pigs and or police and stuff like that. Or Side, den, and ham. No one wants to wind up in a den and like a human trafficking. But that's brand new from, their headquarters are New York. That's really where they're based out of. But they have a whole bunch, they show up in orchestrated communities where the government's taken over. So Philly's officially taken over by the government to have a Van Cookie. Gill, like a fish, and then a fish eye clock at PNC. So they're in like Bethesda, Maryland, you know, Washington. They might be in Washington, D.C. A whole bunch of towns and cities that are completely orchestrated, more so by the government than, say, private entities, would probably have a Le Van Cookie, which is French for bakery. I forgot what van means, but pan is bread. So Le Pan Quotidien, the Daily Bread. Laser Away is got their alarm on. That's like direct energy weapons. White van, hurrying it up, making it around the corner. Cheesecake Factory, and some people see Philadelphia officially at this point in time as a cheesecake factory. A cheesecake factory means you have a lot of people who make a lot of money, but they don't actually help. That's a cheesecake factory. Philly became one apparently, and they had to label it. This is according to someone else's rules and readings. Gainesville, you know, a cheesecake factory came into there to Butler Plaza. Nothing new there. Gainesville, Florida. A lot of suburbs have, you know, it's a chain restaurant, so it's very popular. But it is true that most people don't help people. In the old days, you had stories of, well, my grandfather ran away from home, but someone else in the family took him in, or a friend took him in. It was very common for people to sort of like be taken in by other family members, and it was no big deal, you know. These days, everybody's got to have their own private, you know, unless, of course, you're running away from abuse and you don't want to be around tons of things, you know, going on. Even people who look healthy can be abusive if they're overly domineering. You know, they could be super seemingly healthy, they're runners or whatever, riding horses, but they could be very abusive mentally, trying to you know, control people. Good dog there. It smells like bacon around here. It actually smells good. I'm vegetarian, so I don't eat stuff like that. Although they used to have like benevolent bacon, they don't have that any longer. America runs on Dunkin', sure does. It's all about Dunkin' people. That's their motto. In fact, sorry. Hey, do I have? Okay. And we'll go this way. So anyway, but we have people with multiple properties. We see him out here a lot, that guy. It reminds me of a dancer from a really popular song that came out last year. Back on 70, that song. So anyway, White Elephant across from 1515. 1515 is the Chelsea. They don't put the name out front, so I don't know why. I do know why. They don't want people knowing it's a Chelsea unless you really look into it, and it's rare for people to go that far, you know what I mean? So the Chelsea houses like a dental office. I forgot about that. So there's a dentist. You can get up to like the second and third floors, but beyond the third floor you have to have a code. I used to take care of a dog there, Spencer, for the Britons, one of whom passed away, sadly. He was getting older as it was. They have a third home. They have like 3 homes. You know, now I don't know what they've done with their estates, but their other home is in the West Palm Beach area, or Boynton Beach, or somewhere in between, Royal Palms and stuff like that. And I took care of a dog there named Spencer. Interestingly, I have cousins who moved to West Palm Beach with my aunt and my uncle back then in the late 60s. So I wasn't born yet. I was born at the end of 1970. And I believe they were already down there getting settled, and then my grandparents would quote unquote retire there. My grandfather worked for the railroad company. It wasn't called Amtrak back then. It was either like Conrail or Pennsylvania Railroad. I have to look it up again because I found information in documents that my mom left behind, and it's something railroad. But anyway, he was a lineman and would climb poles to do stuff with lines or whatever. He wound up with a scar on his stomach. Because he was working with someone who might have made a mistake or whatever, so the grounding wasn't done correctly or whatever, and it wound up like giving him a scar across his stomach. I thought that was interesting. When he retired, the railroad system, at least in the Delaware area, would be renamed along with the rest of the United States to Amtrak. So he retired at around the same time Biden would pursue senatorialship. And everyone's tracks changed.